We will now go on to the next bill. Shri Suresh Prabhu.
Madam, I rise to move that the Indian Power Alcohol Repeal Bill 2000 be taken into consideration.
You want to say something on the bill?
Madam, this is one such bill which has not been used probably any time since it was passed in the year 1948. The other day, one of the honorable member in the House was asking my colleague, the Minister of Law and Justice, as to why the government is not taking steps to repeal certain legislations which have not been used, and the committee which was appointed by the government in the past to study and find out which are such legislations, why the government is not acting on such recommendations of such a committee. Madam, you will recall that there was a PC Jain committee which was appointed and recommended the repeal of several acts, and this is one such act. And there is a reason to repeal it because its continuance of this act in the statute book doesn't really serve any useful purpose because it has never been used. And in the modern days, when we are all thinking that there should be only such law as would be minimum legislation that is required, and sensing the mood of the House which was expressed by the honorable member only the other day when he was asking a supplementary, I recommend to the House and I request that this bill be passed, which will ensure that a repeal of the act will take place. Thank you.
People are interested in the alcohol, not in the power alcohol.
Sorry?
Shri Sudarshan Nechyappa.
Respected Chairperson, it's really a very important bill according to me. After going through the debate which had happened in 1948, I request the Honorable Minister to go into the provisions of the Indian Power Alcohol Act 1948, which gives the preamble. I am reading it. Whereas it is expedient in the public interest that the power alcohol industry should be developed under the control of the central government. That was the aim of the government at that time. The power minister, that is the concerned minister at that time, Minister for Industry and Supply, Honorable Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, wants to introduce a bill with a great object that the bill to provide for the development of the power alcohol industry be taken into consideration. Sir, I am quoting it. The object of the bill is to develop the production of the power alcohol and also to take power in the hands of the central government to direct the use of the power alcohol as a motive power. And he goes on explaining how much we are having as a power fuel available at the time of the independence and subsequently, and also gives the reason why we need this bill. He gives a lot of reasons, but I will just quote one or two alone so that the minister can consider, because he is a very young and enthusiastic minister. He can also find out how the forefathers of our August Assembly has thought about it. I am just quoting one part of the speech. One other thing to bear in mind, developing this industry is the springing up of several subsidiary industries like the manufacture of butyl alcohol, amyl alcohol, acetic acid, acetaldehyde, ethyl acetate, ether, chloroform and potash. I hope the state will come forward to help these subsidiary industries. And I will just quote another member's debate where he wants to say, the Honorable S.V. Krishnamurthy Rao, Mysore State, quoting, I am just quoting that portion. Something more must be done for the development of this industry. In fact, there is a vast scope for the development of this industry in our country. As it is, about 250,000 tons of molasses are being wasted. During the war, Australia developed this industry to a very great extent. And the success of an industry depends upon two things. Firstly, the subsidiary industries that develop round about it, and the state aid which it gets for its development. In fact, the planning development report of the panel on sugar, alcohol and food yeast industries in page 25 in para 98 says, the panel is of opinion that the distillery plants ought to be fabricated in this country, patent rights to be acquired whereas necessary for the central government from the foreign manufacturers. Licenses for the manufacture of the plants should be given only to approved parties who would be receive all necessary assistance from the licensing authorities in receiving raw materials for manufacture at a reasonable cost. Again, I am just quoting only a small portion of the discussion made by Honorable Member H.V. Kamath. He wants to say it is a happy augury for the future that this vital industry, the power alcohol, will be developed by this Government of India under its own auspices. I am just again quoting small portion. Mr. Chairman, sir, our free national government was born only about 7.5 months ago, and though not in its swaddling clothes, it is still in the cradle. But it is happy sight to see it alive and kicking. The baby is very much alive and kicking and is doing well. This is the ambition of the persons who have passed this bill. Now I would like to draw the attention of this Honorable Minister whether the Ministry has applied their mind before advising for repealing the molasses which is defined under this Act 3A. Molasses means the heavy dark-colored residual serum drained away in the final stage of the manufacture of sugar by vacuum pans in sugar factories, either from sugar cane or by refining when such a serum was fermentable sugars, within expressed as reducing sugars, but does not include the final residual serum left in the manufacture of sugar of the open pan process. This is the molasses, which is the raw material on which the power, the alternative sources of energy can be created. That was the ambition of the forefathers of our parliament. When they enact this law, they thought that we will produce an industry, a power which is alternative to the petrol can be brought up, which can be suited. They discuss in the debate how the Russia will be there, how the Americans will not help us, how the UK will be exploiting us. In that way they say. Finally they want to say the power alcohol, they want to define in the Act. Power alcohol means ethyl alcohol containing not less than 99.5% by volume of ethanol measured at 60% Fahrenheit, corresponding to 77.4 over proof strength. Whether this chemical was applied, whether this can be suitable for the present day, whether the 25% of the petrol can be mixed along with this one, whether this type of power, alternative power can be used for this juncture, whether the government, especially the particular ministry, has looked into it before repealing this Act. That's my main question I would like to ask the Honorable Minister. And they want to say that they want to develop it. Power to direct the use of the alcohol as motive power. Section 6 says, no petrol shall be sold or kept for sale except with an admixture of power alcohol. They thought that we can just suit the petrol. 75% of the petrol can be mixed with 25. In that way we can save the part of the petrol. That was the imagination of that minister at that time. They want to say in the section 10, power to make rules, subclass 2B, prescribe the specifics and the tests in respect of the purity of the power alcohol intended for admixture with the petrol in order to ensure its suitability for use in the motor vehicles. And again they want to say, fix the price at which power alcohol may be sold for the purpose of admixture with the petrol. Prove the denaturing of the power alcohol at the distilleries. I would like to submit, now we have got plenty of molasses thrown out waste. Every sugar industry is having molasses. But we are telling them, you convert it for the power. You can make it for the power purpose. Even at that time, they want to say that whatever the countries, they use it as a power alternative source of energy. That is, just I will read that portion alone. They want to say that the many countries have already tested and they were successful in implementing this project. In Great Britain, I'm quoting, now it appears that power alcohol is being mixed with petrol in various countries. In Great Britain, France, Germany, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Italy and Australia, this is done, and power alcohol is obtained in those countries mainly from the beet, potatoes, corn and from imported molasses. In Brazil, it appears that the bulk of the power alcohol is produced from the molasses, just as we propose to do in India. Whether we have attempted it for the past 55 years, it may not have been attempted. But why, before advising on the basis of the Administrative Reforms Commission or Jain's Commission, to say that you take away the laws which are redundant? But it is not a redundant. It is an aspiration. It is the will of the people at that time. Just 7.5 months after the independence, they want to see that the industry should come up. We have got the plenty of molasses. At that time, sugar industry was at the high level. Even it is highest now. India is having, it is coming to the top of the sugar development. Therefore, when the sugar is available, sugar canes are available, when the molasses is unnecessarily thrown away as waste materials used for other purposes, why we should not consider and have some research upon it, and why this ambition of the forefathers be implemented. Therefore, I would like to say that the Honourable Minister may have a second thought about introducing, about stressing for this passing of this bill, and have some time to consider about it, and have some homework and the research on the part, so that the alternative energy will be useful. But we have got every right to come forward with the same bill again when you think that it is a possible thing in India also, and it will create employment and also alternative power, which are now a very important thing at the juncture when we are facing the crisis in the fuel and other things. Thank you.
Shri Anna Sahib Patil. Professor Raza Singh Rawat.
मान्यवर आदरणीय सभापति महोदया, मैं सरकार के द्वारा लाए हुए इस बिल का समर्थन करता हूं, और मैं समझता हूं इसको सर्वसम्मति से उनके अंदर पारित किया जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि पुराने बहुत से ऐसे कानून थे जिन कानूनों की अभी कोई विशेष उपयोगिता नहीं रह गई थी। तो समय के अनुसार चेंज इज द लॉ ऑफ नेचर, परिवर्तन प्रकृति का नियम है। तो उसके अनुसार पिछले दिनों देश के अंदर ये आवाज़ आई थी कि बहुत से कानून पुराने बने हुए हैं या जिनको बने हुए बहुत अधिक समय हो गया है और जिनकी अभी कोई उपयोगिता नहीं रह गई है और उनका स्थान दूसरे कानूनों ने ले लिया है, उन कानूनों का निरसन हो जाना चाहिए, रिपील हो जाना चाहिए। उसी आधार पर सरकार इस कानून को लाई है। बाकी माननीय सदस्य ने जिस बात की ओर ध्यान आकर्षित किया है, पहले ये भी था कि अल्कोहल से पावर पैदा करके ये गाड़ियाँ वगैरह चलाने के अंदर लोग काम में लेते थे, या ये शक्कर शुगर मिलें जहाँ होती है जिनका गन्ना वगैरह तो शक्कर वगैरह बढ़ने के बाद में बहुत सा जो उसका निकलता है उसका मलबा और उसका शेष अवशिष्ट पदार्थ, उस अवशिष्ट पदार्थ का यदि शक्ति बनाने के अंदर कुछ उपयोग हो सकता हो तो हमारे देश के अंदर वैसे ही शक्ति की काफ़ी कमी रहती है, बिजली की ऊर्जा की। अगर उससे कोई इस प्रकार का प्रयोग हो सकता हो और वो देश के लिए लाभप्रद हो और वो अधिक खर्चा उसमें कम आता हो और उपयोगी अगर ज़्यादा हो, तो मैं समझता हूँ कि ऐसा करने के अंदर सरकार को कुछ अनुसंधान और प्रयोग करना चाहिए। बाकी इस बिल का मैं पुरजोर समर्थन करता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
No more speakers. Minister may reply.
Madam, I am indeed thankful to the two honourable members for the interventions. One of them, Honourable Shri Sundareshan Nachipan, has drawn my attention and the attention of the House to a very important aspect and the historical perspective which gave birth to this legislation. It is absolutely right, and I fully share the perceptions of those members of the August House when they passed the legislation. But 52 years have passed since then, and what we have to really look at is a particular legislation is required to facilitate certain actions. From that perspective, we must really analyze and find out, because we passed this law, did we fulfill the obligation, did we fulfill the objective for which this legislation was passed? That is one. And secondly, we can even look at it the other way around, whether a repeal of this legislation would result into non-fulfillment objective for which this bill was passed. I think again the answer would be the same, and therefore a repeal of a legislation like this would not result into compromising with the objective for which this bill was primarily passed. What the moot point, madam, is whether this law which was passed has ever been used. And if it has not been used, the recommendation of the commission which was appointed, and as I said, the Honorable House itself felt the other day that those acts, those legislations which have not been used should not be there in the statute books. In conformity with that, I feel that this legislation should be repealed, and it has already been done by the Honorable Rajya Sabha. Madam, I would also like to share the views that are expressed by my colleague and my honorable member, Mr. Nachipan. Madam, it is true that in India today, there is a large generation of molasses as a result of increase in sugarcane production, as well as the crushing of sugarcane. It is also true that there is a tremendous possibility that exists in India today for admixture of alcohol and with molasses and with thing, and then we can make a different type of a fuel to be used by motor vehicles. It is possible. It has been done in Brazil. It has also been done in some other countries, and it is definitely possible that we can also try it in India. In fact, the government is already considering use of such admixture in different forms. The point is whether to do this, whether we need a legislation like this, or we really need to do it through incentives, fiscal and otherwise, and promote an activity like this. What is more important is the sugarcane industry, which was there, and what we have seen in 1948 and now year 2000, a lot of water has flown in the intervening period. The sugarcane industry itself has been delicensed. When we really thought about it, there was a time when every application for set up a new sugar mill used to be approved by the government under the Industrial Development and Regulation Act, but for some time now it is not there. However, we really need to give proper incentive and try to harness this tremendous potential that exists in this sector, for which I fully share with you. But let me assure the House that repeal of the bill will not result into compromising with the objectives which I really mentioned, and I fully agree with that. And in fact, I really congratulate the Honourable Member for drawing my attention to such important aspect and adding a sense or a note of history to the legislation that we are passing now. But I would really strongly feel that repeal of this act will not result into any of the compromising of the principle that you mentioned. Thank you.
The question is that the bill as passed by the Rajya Sabha be taken into consideration. Those in favor may please say aye. Aye. Those against may please say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. The motion for consideration of the bill is adopted. The House will now take up clause by clause consideration of the bill. The question is that clause 2 does stand part of the bill. Those in favor may please say aye. Aye. Those against may please say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Clause 2 stands part of the bill. The question is that clause 1, the enacting formula and long title do stand part of the bill. Those in favor may please say aye. Aye. Those against may please say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Clause 1, the enacting formula and long title stand part of the bill. The Minister may move that the bill is passed by the Rajya Sabha be passed.
I rise to move that the Indian Power Alcohol Repeal Bill 2000 be passed.
As passed by the
As passed by Rajya Sabha.
Be passed. The question is that the bill be passed. Those in favor may please say aye. Aye. Those against may please say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted and the bill as passed by the Rajya Sabha is passed. The next